Good morning and welcome to the Point. It is Monday, October 4th, 2021. Thank you to those of you joining us on the GBN Grenada Broadcasting Network's Facebook page, the Grenada Broadcasting Network's YouTube channel, the website www.gbn.gd, GBN TV channel 7, 11, and 20. Good morning to the listeners of Classic 105.5, 105.9, and the folks joining us on Poultry Grenada and Go to Fet Facebook pages. Always a pleasure to have each and every one of you tuning into the program. Joining me virtually this morning is the recently elected president of the Grenada Poultry Association, Mrs. Carmen Machadeo. Mrs. Machadeo. Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. Appreciate your appearance this morning. How are you?
Well, Blossom, the answer to that question is that I'm trying to do the best under the worst of situations.
That's all we can do these days, just try our very best to stay on the right side. So thank you very much for joining us this morning. Appreciate it. Any opening statements that you would like to make before we get into the nitty-gritty of the discussion?
If I may indulge your thing, can we just begin with a short word of prayer, please?
Sure.
Okay. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Heavenly Father, you have promised us that where 2 and 3 are gathered, you will be there. Today we ask your blessing on this session, that your people will benefit at the end of it. Bless Blossom as she go along, and may we have a very fruitful discussion. We ask this in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you very much for that blessing. So, Mrs. Machadeo, as we said in the beginning, you were recently elected. Tell us about how recent was the election and the process that saw you being put at the helm of the association.
The election was held on the 4th of August of this year. And the reason why I was put at the helm of the organization is a position that I never even imagined to be there, but they wanted me to be their president, and we are all poultry producers, and we all have to contribute in our own way to get ourselves out of this situation that we have been, or I should say this unprecedented situation that no one saw coming, that we, the poultry producers, have suffered. Words cannot really explain to you how much we, the poultry producers, have suffered. So it's a case of all of us coming together. As I said to them yesterday, as our anthem says, right? Head, hearts, and hands in unity to reach our destiny, because that is the only thing that is going to see us through this.
How has the COVID-19 pandemic affected Grenadian poultry farmers?
Blossom, the COVID situation has affected us in a way that it has magnified the conditions that were already existing. Poultry farmers have always been suffering in their profession. Although we come under the Ministry of Agriculture, and I'm not here to point fingers, nor is this a blame game, but the reality of the situation is, right, that maybe no one really brought poultry production to the forefront in a positive way that cohesively all the members of the various authorities like agriculture, trade, and everyone could come together in a cohesive manner, right, and work towards, right, the progress of the poultry farm.
Looking at how it has exacerbated the issues, like you said, what were some of the issues that have really shown itself? They were existing before, and now COVID-19 has really brought further light on it.
Okay. Well, financing has always been at the helm of everything. And usually when they speak about growing the poultry sector, right, there is no quote unquote growing the poultry sector. It is not like if in the other sectors of farming, let's say a heavy wind blows, hurricane or anything, and it hits everything down, everything is on the ground. And in 2 days' time, you may happen to see things sprouting up again from whatever was it in the ground. In the poultry sector, unfortunately, when your bird is dead, it is good and proper dead. A dead bird would not grow head again or new feathers or anything of that sort. What has happened in the poultry industry is most of us as farmers, in order to start our business or to maintain our business, we had to seek initial financing. In doing so, our initial collateral, your buildings, your properties, and so on, is already tied up in that loan. COVID came. Blossom, in the first 2 months of COVID, January and February and going forward, because you have to understand the poultry, how poultry works. Poultry today is not as folks have come to understand it to be. Let's say, you have a couple of fowls and you have it in the backyard and so on. Today is math, science, and technology. For example, let's look at COVID. COVID came, we had lockdown, okay? Lockdown to a poultry farmer means death, because when you have broilers, right? Broilers, it has to be, everything is scientific. You have baby chicks, they have to be kept at a certain temperature. When they are 1 week old, a different temperature. When they're 2 weeks old, a different temperature. When they're 3 weeks old, and so on. When the lockdown comes and it ends like the curfew, well, you'll have to help me with the words. The curfew begins at 5, okay? We cannot work with that. And I would like to take this opportunity to thank the Commissioner of Police, who has been extremely helpful to the farmers in making it possible that a farmer's ID could have been a pass in this second lockdown. That has been extremely helpful. And I would like to express my gratitude. Because going back to that, Blossom, to maintain the heat temperature of the baby chicks, you have to use what is called heat lamps. And one of these heat lamps is 150 watts. If you put on those heat lamps at 5 p.m. in the afternoon, you're roasting the baby chicks alive. Because remember, they have nothing on them. They're just like kind of fluff. So you have to wait until the temperature drops, the external temperature, the sun goes down, before you could put on those lamps. Switching over to the egg production. Eggs, you have to pick them up at a specific time. If you do not pick up your eggs at the exact time that you're accustomed to picking it up, the birds turn around and they eat the eggs. So therefore, you must, COVID or no COVID, lockdown or no lockdown, you must maintain, right, how you are accustomed to dealing with your birds. The timetable that is set for their feeding, for their watering, for picking up your eggs, for dealing with your baby chicks. And in the poultry industry, it's a relentless cycle, because you have to be at it 365 days per year, 24 hours per day. Where the birds doesn't know when there is COVID around, the birds doesn't know when it's Sunday, the birds doesn't know when it's Christmas. All they knew is that their routine must be maintained.
How has that affected? I shouldn't say how has that, because I understand there's a current egg shortage in the island. Mm-hmm. And as one person pointed out, because this morning I spoke with Senator St. Clair, asked the same question about the egg shortage, and somebody pointed out that usually December, Christmas time, is when we see the shortage. So the question is, the current shortage, would it be in place in December, or do you see it getting better?
Blossom, you see, the thing is, the shortages or whatever else it could be, it all depends, right, on statistical data, right? And I find that it's time that we have to face reality and what it is. Without data, right, all sorts of situations can raise its head. The point is, right, what we need is to hear from our farmers. What is their maximum productivity at this point, and what is their potential come December? We need to know from the consumers, the big and the small alike, right? What is their current consumption and what will be their consumption come December? Then we are going to merge the data, and then we are going to give you an educated answer based on the analysis of the data, right? Right now, we are talking off the top of our head, and that is what we need to do an investigative analysis of. The current shortage of eggs is dependent on quite a number of factors, right? And as I said, in poultry production, we have to go back. And the only way we are going to understand this situation is to be human. We have to start seeing each other in a humane way, right? When COVID hit, it slammed into us like worse than Hurricane Ivan, like a thunderbolt. And the person on the outside may not necessarily understand what we, the poultry producers, had to go through. Because, for example, I used to pick up the phone and I used to call Real Value and say, I would like to have 5 pounds of legs, 3 pounds of whatever it is. And so it will be neatly packaged and I will be able to collect it. When I became a poultry producer, that is when I realized what is the reality of poultry production. You see, Blossom, this is what happened. To produce a broiler, for it to get on the market, it takes 6 weeks. 6 weeks of constant growth and monitoring. To produce eggs, it takes 6 months. Unfortunately, and I hope I don't get too emotional, unfortunately, when COVID came, some of our farmers, when SU students went back and the hotels closed, they could not maintain themselves because that is what they were depending on, the eggs. There was a glut on the market. And to survive and to stay alive, they had to slaughter some of their birds and sell it sometimes at $5 each, just to get, something to be able to survive. So that is the first set of the onset of the problem. Because when you heard about stimulus, right, Blossom, if you really look around and you see, you'll hear every category of people go. Did you hear anything about poultry? Nothing. Because as the minister said, right, even if there is something in the stimulus, Blossom, it is totally inaccessible. Totally. Because when you go to the financial institutions, right, they do not give you financing on a sad story or dead birds, right? They want reality, right? And if our collateral is already tied up in what we already had to give them in the first place, right, to get where we are, and they're asking us for the same thing again, and nobody's prepared to meet us in the middle, or to understand, right, that this was life that we are talking about, because a broiler only lasts for 6 weeks. Blossom, this is what happened. When the students went back, you see, when you have the birds, right, and we were prepared for the students returning in mid-January, because there's a high season and a low season. And when the birds, when the students, you had to prepare from the middle of November, December to be able to sell when the students return in January. When the students return in January, Blossom, right? And then they closed and they went back, let's say mid-February. Blossom, you know what happened? We had to dig trenches and bury our birds by the hundreds. That is the side of COVID that nobody sees, nobody knows about. We had to bury them, Blossom, because you couldn't do anything with broilers. They died on your hands, right? So you see, Blossom, the thing is this, right? It is called survival, right? It is called trying to stay alive on a daily basis. I know many producers, right, who went out of business. Right? They couldn't maintain themselves. You know about the Caribbean Agro situation with the feed when Caribbean Agro closed. You remember that situation?
Yes, right. I do. Mm-hmm.
What were we supposed to sell to feed our birds? Many birds died. So, and then again, right, coming back to the present situation, right, Blossom? You see, nobody really interacted with us to say, well, look, this is the discussion that is going on. The students will be returning at so-and-so time. the hotels are thinking about reopening at so and so time, because everything was one mass of confusion. You're getting conflicting information. Sometimes you're hearing that they'll be reopening, then they wouldn't be reopening, then it will be so and so time, then they push it back, and so on and so forth. Also, what you have to understand to Blossom is that farmers work. I had to practically chase down from my farm that is located in Birch Grove to come here and to sit with you with wet hair, because I just jumped out of the shower to be here. When you want to talk to us, you have to talk to us in the night. But this is what actually caused the situation that is here, because as I usually say, the human side of enterprise is what do not appear on your balance sheet. But the quality of the humans that are involved in businesses is what makes or breaks your organization. So what we need, Blossom, because we as farmers, right? What we need is people to see us as human beings. Yes, we are farmers, we have muddy boots, and a baseball cap on or so on. But you can talk to us. And if you want our business, you have to come down to our level. Don't, when we come to your institution, you put a pile of forms in front of us, or you tell us to go online. And when you go online, Blossom, it's a 10-page document you have to take. That is not speaking to us as farmers, right? Because with COVID has taught us, Blossom, that without agriculture, right, we would all have been dead. If we cannot feed ourselves, right, and sustain ourselves, something worse than COVID can come. Something worse than Ivan can come. So COVID has taught us, Blossom, that don't look at the SU students. Yes, they are important. Don't look at the hotels, because when they closed and they went, it's within ourselves, right? Within the Grenadian community. That is what kept each of us alive here. Because, going back to that, because many people, many of our farmers, because our poultry farmers, right? Our poultry farmers, they are proud people, right? You wouldn't see us like in the streets with placard and so on. You wouldn't see that. We take what comes to us, and we pick ourselves up and we move on, right? Blossom, as I am sitting here speaking to you, right, is just by, well, you asked me why I became the president. Blossom, about 2 months ago, when the reality of COVID really hit into me, and I looked at my bank and I saw I had zero in it, and I looked at my pens and I saw they were empty, and this is coming from full pens. Blossom, I had a meltdown from the inside out. Many farmers wouldn't tell you what they have gone through, but I'm speaking on behalf of them. I got so sick, right? I couldn't speak. I couldn't walk. I couldn't eat. I was there like here now, and Blossom, I just had this total meltdown that my body just gave up on me and it ceased to function. And that is having to cope with 2020, having to cope with how are you going to pay your loan, because I do not own the premises that I operate from. I have to pay a rent of $3,000 a month. And during the 2020 to 2021, Blossom, I had to pay that $3,000 every single month, because if I had gone out of business, I would not have been counted, and you had to stay in it, face the grind to be able to be in business today. So basically, that is the reality of us in the poultry sector. Many of our farmers, they have died. Many of our farmers, they have, as I said before, gone out of business. And this is it. There is really nothing. I cannot come here with any sort of flamboyance. I cannot come here with anything and tell you it's all glory and there is like a silver spoon waiting for us. Every day we get a Blossom and we face bad news. And we have to ask ourselves, And that's the reason why I started with a prayer. Because Blossom, I'll tell you something, right? If I wasn't Catholic, read between the lines. If I wasn't Catholic, I would not have been here talking to you today. That is how as bad as it gets.
So as president of the association, then, how can you help farmers, your members, come out of this situation moving forward? We're almost 2 years into the pandemic, and people have started and continue to look at the way forward and how they can get out of the situation. How do you intend to do that, leading from the front?
Correct, because we had to be our own brother's keeper. We have, in the beginning, everybody was so submerged in their own grief and trying to deal with their mental situation. But now we are beginning to see something where we lean on each other through our chats, through our, for example, like I really cannot express my gratitude to my new executive. Sometimes we are up all hours in the wee hours in the morning, and they come together, right? And they do it very willingly, because we realize, Blossom, it's only us, right, who have to pull ourselves up by our own bootstraps and help one another to stay into business. Because as president, I don't want to see another poultry farmer go out of business or another poultry farmer continue to suffer under this. We ourselves have to see. Also, what I would like to point out to you too, right? I am very grateful to our senator, the present senator, for shining a light on the poultry. And we have great people in our midst. Mr. Moran, the PS of Agriculture, the present Minister of Agriculture, Mr. Peter David, they are now lending us a listening ear. And I think it's just a matter of time and communication, right? That I hope they're listening and they could understand and feel our pain and understand that we need help and we need it right now.
The registration of poultry farmers as well has also been a major concern. Any strategies yet to address it, and how important is it that the majority of poultry farmers actually get registered?
Which one would you like me to answer first?
Anyone.
The importance? Okay. It is very, very important that poultry farmers get registered because, as I pointed out before, of the statistical analysis, we need to know how many farmers we have. We need to know our productivity and the rate of productivity. Because, for example, many people are under the misconception that, fowls lay 1 egg per day or something. They see eggs appear on a tray, but that is not so, right? A layer bird lays approximately 280 eggs per year. And they don't lay every day. They lay in a 26-hour cycle. You may see eggs being picked up on a daily basis, but it does not necessarily mean that the same bird is laying the eggs every day. Okay? So when we know that, okay, they are registered, so then we could compare notes, right? Okay, you'll be having, this would be, Tom Jones' low season is going to be in the month of July, but Esther Williams can fill in that gap, right? And so on and so forth. That is very, very important. Also, there's strength in numbers. When I go and I speak to the authorities, right, what am I going to tell them? Oh, we have some poultry producers. Some is not a number. We need that. It's very, very, very important. Also, right, we have, and thanks very much for asking, because we have started the process of registration. And I must say, right, the interest that is shown, right, is very good. And having said that, not because I'm not here to sugarcoat anything, nothing. I am very, very disappointed and aggrieved with those who went before me, that now that I am the new president, that I have nothing to work with, right? What were they doing? What do they have to show? Because this is reality that we are living look, this is people's livelihood. If I had something to say, well, look, because the association is more than 25 years old, right? And there should have been something that the ministry, the prime minister, the minister of agriculture, and so could have referred to say, well, okay, look, Poultry Association has been existing for this time. The growth has been that. In COVID, it went down to so and so, whatever it is. So basically, myself and my executive now, well, as I usually tell them, I say, hey, look, let me tell you something. Huh? I am not here to clean up anybody's mess. I don't have the time for that. We have to look at this thing as a new thing going forward, because right now we are fighting to save our sanity and our own lives. And let us look at it as something new. Farmers, come on board, get yourself registered, and let us see how we could do a new thing, right? And take it forward from here.
Another issue that has been around for a while, the issue of the poultry policy. I know I haven't heard much about it over the past few weeks, maybe months. Is that part of the agenda of the new executive, and how soon would we see discussions resuming to getting that policy in place?
As I pointed out before, earlier when we started speaking, the importance of the human side of any business, okay? Poultry farm policy was made by a group of people who sat around. They came up with a policy, whatever it is, but what is policy? Policy is something that needs to be worked on. It's something that is ongoing, right? For example, the poultry policy speaks about replacing the importation with local production, right? You cannot go, because I know about an instance, right, where everybody's looking at the dollars and cents, CENTS, about the value of the importation, but we need to look at the dollars and SENSE when it comes to importation, right? You see, importation, Blossom, right, is done, the whole birds are covered under some sort of, and people, listeners, forgive me because I'm very new, so I may not know the technical point, but I'm just trying to bring it forward to you, right? Okay, the whole birds, the live birds, right, are covered because you are not supposed to bring in live, like whole chickens then, let's put it that way, whole chicken, right? Notwithstanding the fact that it was brought to my attention not so long ago that a whole bunch of dead whole chicken came in from Belize or something of that sort, right? The poultry policy is supposed to look at everything in its entirety, right? It's supposed to be a collaborative effort between the buyers and the suppliers, right? It's supposed to be a cycle because, as you know, the business curve that goes like this. Sometimes it's down and sometimes it's up. You understand? So where are we at this point in time? I have had some very fruitful discussions that was held in one instance where the Prime Minister was present, Mrs. Yolande Horsford was president, the current Minister, Mr. Peter David, was present, the PS was present, and everyone was present. And some of these points that we are discussing here was brought to light. And everybody, they listened, because my experience is this, Blossom, I think that people couldn't act because they didn't know. And I am hoping, and I'm really, I'm thinking ahead. And as I said, we have a very, very good PS, and he's on top of everything. That, Mr. Moran, he will send you emails all hours in the night and in the day, and with fun, because that's who he is. He's an action guy. And I am hoping, because Blossom, you see, I am really bored with boredom. I'm very, very bored with boredom, and I don't have a lot of patience. So if there's a problem to be fixed, I want to see it fixed, and I will move to get it fixed. So like the office in Grenville that was closed down for how many years, right? I just found myself last week there, and here, look, let's open the office. is filled with cobwebs and so on. I told the executive, look, we need to go there to get this thing cleaned up. At least we have a place to rest our head. So look, let's get on with it. Because whining over anything ain't going to solve any problem. And I mean, God has granted me another chance in life. And we all, every day we wake up, we ought to be very grateful, Blossom, that COVID didn't take us. So let us use what is left of us to make something of our lives. And together, if each one reach one blossom, we are going to see progress.
On that note, let's take a quick break, Ms. Carmen, and then we're going to continue the discussion after this. You're tuned into To The Point right now, speaking with President of the Grenada Poultry Association, Ms. Carmen Machadeo. We'll be right back.
Let's get tough on breed your larceny. It will destroy our economy. Larceny threatens our food security. Can hurt us locally, hurt us globally. To all the buyers, ask for license from all produce sellers. To all the people, 300 for police for them thieving fellas. To all the farmers, please don't steal produce from your brother. Then you sell it to traffickers, hotels and street vendors. Nah, man. Let's do all we can to stop breeding larceny. New vigilance, new laws, and a tough judiciary. Stop Grenada's organized business crime. It's time.
To report breeding larceny, call 300.
Stop the spread of germs that can make you and others sick. Cover your nose and mouth with a tissue when you cough or sneeze. If you don't have a tissue, use your elbow. Wash hands often, especially after coughing or sneezing into a tissue.
Prevent cold and flu by washing your hands with soap and water for at least 20 seconds. That's the time it takes to remove most germs. No soap and water? No worries when you've got alcohol-based hand sanitizer.
Looking for that injection of vibes and energy, of course? Well, I've got just that. Hi, my name is Gary, Mr. Smooth, and I'm inviting you to join me on the Hot Morning Show on Hot 98.5, 98.7 FM. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 10 in the morning. I've got a healthy dose of your favorite and most infectious hits sampled with information, news, laughter, and all the other ingredients that go into making the hottest morning show on the radio. The Morning Heat. And while you're at it, don't forget to hit us up on WhatsApp, 435-7517. We've got topics, we've got discussions, calls, voice notes, and so much more. But I can't tell you everything. You gotta tune in. The Hot Morning Show on Hot FM 98.5, 98.7 with yours truly, Gary, Mr. Smooth. Kaboom!
Welcome back to to the point. We are speaking with President of the Grenada Poultry Association, Mrs. Carmen Machadeo. At this point in the program, we're going to invite our viewers and listeners who may have comments, questions, queries, concerns. Now is your opportunity to ask them. The landline number, 435-2041. The WhatsApp number, it's also 435-2041. Please, only written messages on WhatsApp. And you can continue to post your comments and questions on the GBN, Grenada Broadcasting Network's Facebook page and the Grenada Broadcasting Network's YouTube channel. Let me go to a WhatsApp question. Somebody on WhatsApp asks or says, the $40 million import bill that Grenada currently has, the government will not be willing to reduce it, so they will continue to import everything that we produce here in this country, which is disrespectful to our farmers and poultry folks. Do you see the situation getting any better with the importation of chickens and other poultry products?
Blossom, I am very hopeful for the future. As I usually tell my farmers, everybody has their role to play. The government has their role to play because they have to get revenue to run the country in whatever way they can. However, with sensible dialogue, right, if we can look at consuming more healthy local products is going to reduce the health bill. Because, is what you put into your body, that is what you get out of it. And all of us only have one body to last us for the rest of our lives. But there are different sides to that situation, because some people, they just like the imported stuff, and some people likes the way it comes, by wings and legs and so on and so forth. I don't know if it has a different taste or whatever, because unfortunately I really don't consume meat. So, for whatever reason it is that they like it, and as I said, right, this is a new thing to all of us, because the poultry policy sat down there, it gathered dust, somebody picked it up every now and then when it was convenient to them, because nothing without sugarcoating anything. People conveniently use the poultry industry for their own personal gains in the past. And this is what we are inheriting right now. So answering the question about the 40 million, I didn't even know it was 40 million, whatever it is. This is going to take constructive dialogue with all the parties involved. It will not be something that can be changed overnight. And the person may not be aware of it, but that has already started. What I would say from my point of view, let us look at this thing from a phasing out process, right? When we get the data, if we can produce, let's say, an additional 500 pounds in the first year, let us look at the pens, let us look at the capacity. Because, Blossom, they are humongous problems, monumental problems, as you may be aware of some of them. Blossom, there is no place for agriculture. I own 2 pieces of property in St. George's, and I'm renting for $3,000 a month because, Blossom, you cannot do anything agriculture. You put a pen there, they just see the structure going up, they call the ministry, they say, look, the pen gonna sink up the place. If you come on my place now, and many people are there going to tell you, Blossom, you could go into my pen and you could have your lunch. Because you cannot have a poultry pen that sinks. It's going to kill your bird, because the bacteria from this, it's bacteria that causes the pen to sink. And if there's bacteria there, it's going to kill your bird. So the thing is this, right? First of all, when we are speaking about replacing importation, we have to look at infrastructure. Lands need to be available. And Blossom, for quite a long time, there has not been anyone in the Ministry of Agriculture that actually looks at poultry. And that discussion has started with Mr. Moran. We are asking for someone who is solely, right, with the poultry producers, who can listen to us, who could take our suggestions, who could, merge what is happening with the ministry with what is happening on the ground, and then we could start speaking. Because you You can't grow a poultry industry like that, Blossom. You must have pens, you must have, all of these things, and these things take land, these lands to do it. Let the ministry look at their land policy. They also have one in place. And let us see where we go towards, reducing the importation. Because to reduce the importation, you have to start increasing the local productivity. And most of the farmers in their current infrastructure are producing at their maximum capacity.
Let me go to the first caller. Good morning, caller.
Good morning to you, Blossom, and to the president of the Poultry Association. I want to say congratulations and welcome. Poultry is very dear to my heart because my son is a poultry farmer and I'm involved. I appreciate you coming on the scene to inform us. I also want to say thank you to Senator Roderick. He has played a pivotal role in informing us and keeping us abreast. And the information we really need it, I can identify with a lot of what the president has said, because I believe poultry, the first round of the COVID affected poultry more than anybody else. And we have taken a bit. I've heard of, known of cases where farmers had to get grass and stuff like that. So we welcome the opportunity, and I do hope that you'll be reopening the office in Grenville so that farmers in Grenville who want a couple trays can walk there and get it, and who could liaise with the association. And once again, I just want to say thank you and welcome, and we look forward to working with you. Have a blessed day, and thank you. Stay safe.
Thank you very much, caller. That's Mario.
Thank you very much, and I will endeavor to do my best because, as I said, I am also a poultry farmer. That's the reason why I decided to serve. I understand your pain. Only each and every one of us in the poultry industry can understand our own pain. I will do everything that I can. You can look forward, let us say, in a month's time to the office being reopened in Grenville. And then together we are going to take it together. We'll take it from here because we're going to reach out to each other. As you see, we have a good thing going on our chats. And don't worry, as long as you can find me, you'll be all right.
Somebody on WhatsApp says about 4 months ago, I can resonate with the president. About 4 months ago, we lost about 400 birds out of 600. When we start losing them in the first 3 days, we called the ministry for help. They promised to send someone, and up to now, no one ever came. My husband had a breakdown, didn't speak for a week. Up to now, we can't get back to that place with our birds. The question is there anything in place when farmers face these problems? Can the association help farmers like this WhatsApper?
Blossom, what I would say is this, right? And this is what I find totally annoying, okay? And sometimes I get very, very angry with it because I said, as I say, nobody gets us. It's only we poultry farmers can understand that. Blossom, because many people are using COVID as an excuse to be lazy and to be ineffective and not to function. And that is the reality of the situation, and that is something that we have to face. Many, many times you call Blossom and, COVID and COVID and COVID. But as I said before, the birds doesn't know anything about COVID. The birds doesn't know that today is Christmas Day or Boxing Day. And when you see people are going around the island, right, on their bus tours and so on, we poultry producers are there in our pens, working on a daily basis. I sympathize with you and your husband, but don't worry, we are going to be there, get there, because I have been in a worse situation like that, and that is the reason why, Blossom, coming out of my situation, I can empathize and I can sympathize with our farmers, because believe you me, nobody else is doing it. But to answer the question, we are lobbying with Mr. Moraine for the Ministry of Agriculture to be more proactive, right, in the life of poultry producers. And what I'm going to say is this, and I'm going to say this to all the poultry farmers. Look, we have to start taking care of our own business. right? Regardless of who is there and regardless of what they do and what they do not do. When in the first 2 months of COVID, you look at your $400,000 investment get buried in trenches. Blossom, girl, let me tell you something, If you and your dead birds, you could sit down and you could cry as much as you want, Blossom. Nobody can come in and hold your hand and say, look, here is $1. And furthermore, Blossom, during the COVID, the price of baby chicks went up 3 times. We were paying $3.60 for a baby chick. Now we are paying $4.20. And may the Lord be with you if you decide to go and buy from one of the private entrepreneurs in St. George's, is $5.60-something. And when you start with a baby chick at that price, I'm talking about this newborn chicks, right? And then you're selling your birds, your dress birds at $5.50 a pound. And the supermarkets want it, right? At 3 to 3.5 pounds. You work it out, do the math, right? You're getting what? 5 3 is 15 and, like $16.50 per bird. And you start out by paying, right? Or let's round it off sometimes, 5 or 6, and you have to feed them for 6 weeks, 6 long weeks. And then it comes to the processing part of it. You have to deliver your birds, Blossom, right, at no higher than 32 degrees. To do that, if you are producing 300 birds, Blossom, it takes $300 of ice, the crushed ice, to maintain those birds at that temperature. Because if you do not deliver your birds at that temperature, Blossom, they could just, right, with one word out of their mouth, right, or a sentence, you do not meet the temperature, and they could turn you back with your cooler, right, and cat eat your dinner because you're standing on your own, right? Apart from that, the criteria to meet, right, the delivery, right, what they are asking us for, right, Blossom, is heavyweight investment you have to go into there, right? A plucker is almost $10,000. Blossom, your processing center must be tiled from the top to the bottom. You have to have sinks, you have to have running water, right? To get my production center to where it is. Blossom, it cost me over $50,000 just to get it up and running. And my dear, listen to this. If it is not to that standard, when they come to inspect, you can't even sell them a feather, much less a bird. So this poultry industry, you can smile if you want, because that is true. I mean, look, I could have come here and told you, right? Hello, Miss Blossom, this is how the poultry industry is, but no, that ain't gonna work. And we talk like we're talking so everybody will understand where we're coming from.
Let me go to a caller. Good morning, caller.
Good morning. I want to speak to the idea of allocating lands for poultry. The question is, do they have any policies in place in terms of where these lands supposed to be located? Because I'm thinking in terms of our the rivers and the streams and the water sources and so forth, because when you're dealing with poultry, you're also dealing with chemicals that could seep into the soil and so forth. So we have to be careful as to not put them in a place where they could pollute our water sources and so forth. So if they could give that consideration, please, I think that will be in our favor.
Thank you very much, caller. Ms. Machadeo?
Brother?
Yes, go ahead. Did you hear the caller?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, I heard him. But you see, Blossom, that is exactly what I said earlier, right? That every time there's something raises its head, there's all of these things that comes up, these barriers to progress and that sort of thing. Everybody understands but I do not understand when he said about chemicals in poultry, right? I do not understand that because I have never been exposed to any chemical in poultry, because you cannot use chemicals in poultry because that is something for human consumption. So I don't understand what chemicals this is that he's alluding to. And furthermore, right, I would also let you know, you may find maybe some, I'm not sure, but very few, but our poultry producers, we are very environmentally conscious. Because if we are not, right, you are going to find yourself with dead birds every day. The quality of the air the birds breathe, the quality of the water, the quality of your surroundings, right, is what determines your end product. Because when you buy the small birds, between then to the 6 weeks of delivery, if you are not on top of your game, right, you could lose, as the caller said, you could lose 400 birds out of 600, you could lose 500 birds out of 600, and most chemicals are harmful to poultry. So we, the poultry farmers, right, we are very cognizant of the fact that what works for us. So we ain't going to pollute no river or anything of that.
Keeping an eye on the time. Other than the registration of farmers and the poultry policy, what are some of the other areas that the association intends to tackle during its 2-year term?
Well, first of all, Blossom, I am focused on progress. I'm focused on collaborative effort. I'm focused on moving this in the industry forward, getting it out of the past and the doldrums and this, whatever it is used to go on. Because almost on a daily basis, I get sometimes 10, 15, 20 calls about people wanting to come up on, raise the past, right? Well, I'm not an undertaker, sorry. So, I just want to focus on what is in front of us, potential. How can we engage the relevant authorities, right? How can they engage us? How can they listen to us, Blossom? Because first of all, I hope coming out of this, Mr. Prime Minister, I don't know if you were listening. If you could lend us a listening ear and be sympathetic to us, we will be very grateful. Blossom, I would really like to take this opportunity to thank you for reaching out to us, for giving us a voice, right? Because not many people has done that. Thank you so very much.
No problem at all.
By extension, each and every poultry farmer would do that. Another thing, having spoken here today, Blossom, I hope the financial institutions have listened. I have been trying to engage GDB for the longest while. They're available for every other thing, excepting for a meeting. Blossom, if the minister is saying, right, if Mr. Bowen is saying, or I should say, Brother Bowen, if you're listening to me, hear me today. Blossom, if there's stimulus and there's money available, why are you locking it up under, you understand, whatever it is, and making it inaccessible? You're saying something out there, but the reality of the situation is totally different to what you're saying, right? What happened to us who have lost our $400,000 that came out of our savings? You invest every single thing, and then to get another loan of $40,000, Blossom, to be able to pay your rent on a monthly basis. Because remember, Blossom, we're talking about 2 years now. It's $3,000 per month. That will give you $36,000 in 2020, right? And we're approaching here, so that's $72 in rent with no revenue coming in, right? Your land is tied up, your property is tied up and everything. So where do we go from here, right? Come on, man, give us, or as our commissioners say, an easement. Or Blossom, that's your favorite word. Beg them, ask them, give the poultry producers an easement. We need it. And another thing is this, Blossom, right? You always hear sad stories, because somebody is sitting there, bend the rules or broke it or whatever it is, and they give their cousin and their whoever, whatever, loans, and then they turn around and they punish the ones who's coming out and say, oh, they were bad loans and so on, so I'm paid back. I don't see things like that. I see that you didn't do your job. Because if you had done due diligence, you would have known who to give your money to. So don't come to us and blame us and hold us back and put up your barriers because of what the fault on your end. Because Blossom, if I have a business, right, and I can show you, look, from my suppliers, Ms. Machadeo has been doing business with us for the past X number of years. This is what we have done. This is what we are prepared to do, right? Blossom, give the people some money. We are not asking for $1 million. And another thing is this, I would like to say this too, as I mentioned that. I don't know who these folks are, but I have heard that some big time whosoever, I don't know what they're doing, if they're producing or if they're whatever it is and so on. I mean, somewhat mega farms and whatever it is. I have news for them and for everybody listening. Look, people like to pigeonhole us and call us small farmers, Blossom, quote unquote small farmers, and as such, they treat us as though we are small and we don't count. But Blossom, here is this is the reality. If you add the number of employees that are small farmers, together what we have, you tell me, who is going to come, the big dogs with the big guns blazing, come and match us? You with your big equipment coming in and say, oh, this is automated and whatever it is. Blossom, when you see we deliver our birds, I'm not saying a few of them wouldn't fall through the cracks, but I'm telling you, right? Our birds will stand up in any queen show, right? We deliver beautiful birds. So don't let them think it's the small farmers that have the poultry industry today. That is the reason why they could come and say competition. Because if we were dead and we were buried, right, there would be no competition. So Blossom, we are not prepared to roll over and play dead, right? There's a new sheriff in town and we are going to take it from there.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Machadeo. Appreciate your appearance this morning, and it was my pleasure to provide the platform for you and the association to share your concerns. And of course, we will have a future conversation as we continue to follow the executive and hope for the best for the association. So thank you very much, and I'd like to encourage you to stay safe and good luck to the new executive. What, just about 2 months old, almost 2 months old. So very best to the executive. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much, Blossom. And once again, I extend by extension the gratitude of the farmers and for all those who were listening, who have helped us along the way in the ministries and the ones who continue to buy our products, the supermarkets that have stood by us. I extend the gratitude of all our producers, and together, Blossom, as I said, what it takes is for us to be human.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Machadeo. Enjoy your day. Be good.
Thanks. You too.
All right. President of the Grenada Poultry Association, Mrs. Carmen Machadeo. We thank her so very much for being our guest this morning. And thank you, viewers and listeners, for tuning in to the program. Always appreciate your listenership, your viewership. Thank you very much for your time. It's time for me to head on out the door and make way for Joseph, who's up next with Mid-Morning Buzz. Continue to stay safe. Observe the protocols. Please continue to take care of yourself and your loved ones. Have yourselves a safe, enjoyable, magnificent Monday.